Serious introduction. On the way to relocation, the whole family has to rely on half a bag of grain from my grandmother's waste to make ends meet. Zhao Luoyang, who was still struggling on the brink of hunger, suddenly had an additional system in his mind. He was forced to earn enough charm and become loved by everyone. Flowers bloom when they bloom, making him famous all over the world. Zhao Luoyang. It's a bit difficult. With diligence and hard work, Zhao Luoyang finally accumulated a lot of charm value. However, at this point, he realized that the most difficult thing was that the system even gave away a sun.in.law for free. Zhao Luoyang. Did you send it the wrong way? Can I return the item? Forced to become someone in the system. Refusal is impossible, let's buy a lesson. Male main version. Suddenly one day, he became a system and needed to help Zhao Luoyang complete the task. He had never been commanded like this before. He looked at each other coldly and was about to slack off, only to receive a warning from the system. Warning, health points have decreased and you are about to face death. As he watched his gradually fading self, he had to swallow his pride and continue to work tirelessly to build a system. What else can I do to help? Small Theater Edition. Finally enduring until his health reaches 100%, he can finally leave the cage and return to his own body. Guard report. Master, Miss Zhao from the Zhao family has come to pay her respects. Finally, when she arrived, it was time for him to seek revenge. Close the door tightly and prohibit her from taking a step outside the mansion. The guard smelled the smell of bloody and relentless violence. He continued, bring the Princess Chang over, and then call on the Marquis of Zhongshan and the Marquis of Nan'an. And ask them to act as matchmakers for me, so that Zhao Luoyang can sign a marriage contract with me. After marrying someone back home in a sedan chair, slowly settle the accounts. Keywords of the novel. Madam is forced to search for the Marquis without a pop-up window. Madam is forced to search for the Marquis. Download the complete TXT collection. Madam is forced to search for the latest chapters of the Marquis to read. Chapter 1. Saving People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Saving People. In early September of the first year of Xingwu, the court ordered the relocation of the people from Hedong Road to Taozhou and Minzhou. On the way to relocation, the group encountered a disaster while passing through Yuanzhou. It rained heavily for several consecutive days, and the mountain suddenly collapsed and hit the crowd. In the moment before the danger approached, Zhao Luoyang, the 16-year-old eldest daughter of Zhao Xueli, seemed to have anticipated something in advance. She first stopped her grandmother and mother, pushed away her father and brother, and was accidentally hit by a stone, causing her to remain unconscious. 3 days have passed, and the Zhao family has found some herbs to apply to Zhao Luoyang's wound. They have used all the possible methods, but Zhao Luoyang has not shown any improvement. It's difficult to hire a doctor on weekdays, let alone in such a place where colleagues start discussing. The eldest sister of the Zhao family will definitely not be able to do so. Some people are beginning to persuade the Zhao family not to delay for the sake of Zhao Luoyang's injury, so it's better to set off early. They are not the only team to relocate. When others arrive in Taozhou and Minzhou, they first enter the registered residence and divide the land, so they can only choose the rest of others. Everyone is heartless, said Yang, the old lady of the Zhao family, pinching her waist and cursing. If it weren't for my granddaughter blocking everyone, I don't know how many people would have been buried there without expecting you to repay their kindness. Why? If we delay for a few days, we won't be happy. No matter how good the land is, we can buy lives. This is true. Everything happened too quickly at that time. If it weren't for Zhao Luoyang's shout, several households would have walked over, and I don't know how many people would have suffered at once. No one dares to speak in front of Mrs. Yang now. Mrs. Yang's mouth is more powerful than anyone else, and she really caught her eye. She will definitely not be able to please her. Mrs. Yang looked at Zhao Luoyang and couldn't help but sigh, it's all my fault. If I had found out earlier that the old beast had broken his heart, I wouldn't have ended up with this result. Zhao Luoyang's mother, Luo Shi, raised her swollen and crying eyes and whispered, "Mom, don't say that. No one expected it to be like this." Mrs. Yang cursed her husband, who is also the old master of the Zhao family. Mr. Zhao was a scholar. During the war, all his family members died. He fled to the countryside and was rescued by Mrs. Yang's family. Mr. Zhao was useless except for studying, but fortunately, he was willing to learn and help the Yang family with their busy lives. He made Mrs. Yang and his 2 high court officials happy and even married his daughter to him. After the two got married, Mrs. Yang gave birth to 4 sons for Mr. Zhao, named after him: Shui Wen, Shui Li, Shui Jing, and Shui Yi. This literary and elegant name was also the first in the village, and for a while, it made Mrs. Yang's face shine when she thought of it. However, as the war subsided and life became more stable, Mr. Zhao's nature gradually became exposed and he began to be unwilling to do farm work. After finding households in the city to serve as servants, he even looked down on Mrs. Yang and a few unruly sons in the family. This time the court moved households. Mr. Zhao had already heard the news in the city, but did not tell Mrs. Yang. Instead, he secretly sold several acres of land in the house and left with his well-educated eldest son, Zhao Shuwen, and his family. Before leaving, he said he wanted to go to the south to find relatives and come back in a few days. It was only after Zhao Luoyang discovered the divorce notice pressed under the mat that old lady Yang finally came back to her senses. It was clear that she was abandoning her wife and children when searching for relatives. "I don't want my rough wife anymore. I can't read well, and I also don't want my 3 sons who are not promising." Mrs. Yang was hit hard and almost fell into a slump as a result. It was not a big deal to want to divorce his wife, but she never expected that Mr. Zhao would be so heartless. When he left, he almost cut off their path. For this relocation, Mr. Zhao went to the Yamen in advance to register the homes of Mrs. Yang and her 3 sons, and obtained the relocation certificate in Sichuan capital. When Mr. Zhao left, he took away all the silver in Sichuan capital from selling the land, which was to drive them to a dead end. Mrs. Yang and others have no money left and cannot even afford to buy large livestock. They rely solely on their sons and daughter-in-law to carry their families on their backs. It is easy to imagine how difficult the road will be. Yang Laotai hated her so much that she was married for 100 days, and all 3 children were his flesh and blood. However, he killed them all like this, and even her eldest son ignored his mother and 3 brothers. The more she thought about it, the angrier it became. Mrs. Yang fell seriously ill. Thanks to Zhao Luoyang's company, she looked at her worried granddaughter. Mrs. Yang's heart softened and she realized that she had to live, waiting for the day that the old beast entered the tomb. Mrs. Yang rubbed her granddaughter's hand with her rough hands, hoping her granddaughter would recover soon. Second daughter-in-law, Mrs. Yang called Luo. "Have we girls started talking?" Rose shed a tear and nodded. "Mom, it's true. If it weren't for Luo Yang speaking, they wouldn't have stopped either." However, before they could have a chance to be happy, there was suddenly such a change. Everyone was busy taking care of the injured Luo Yang, and they hadn't thought about it carefully yet. Mrs. Yang said, "Our girl will definitely get better. She has saved so many people, and the Bodhisattva must give her a great enlightenment." Zhao Luoyang was born speechless, and the doctor said he was born with a congenital deficiency. Zhao Shueli and Luo Shi were extremely distressed and had a special preference for their daughter. Although Zhao Luoyang remained silent, he liked to play with the books at home and even secretly listened to Zhao Lao Tai's lectures for his sons. Mrs. Yang often pondered, saying that her 4 sons were not as good as her little granddaughter. Of course, no one believed her words when spoken. As he was thinking recklessly, Zhao Luoyang, who was lying on the mat, suddenly frowned. "Miss Luo," Mrs. Yang looked in her eyes and suddenly became excited, shouting softly. Zhao Luoyang opened his mouth and didn't know what he was saying. Mrs. Yang listened carefully before she could hear clearly. What Zhao Luoyang said was, "There is a rainy mountain with a hat." There is no rainy mountain. There is no waste. It's still raining on the other side of the mountain. Mrs. Yang was delighted in her heart, but Zhao Luoyang and Mrs. Luo couldn't understand what Zhao Luoyang was going to say next. They only heard Zhao Luoyang continue, he said. A concave steep slope, heavy rain, water seeping into the slope. Holes. Crevice water pressure. Collapse. It's true, quickly avoid. Collapse. Yang Lao Tai and Luo Shi didn't quite understand what Zhao Luoyang meant, but the word collapse made people understand very well. It's okay, Roche quickly comforted her daughter in a low voice. Don't worry, everyone has avoided it. Mrs. Yang wiped the corner of her eyes and said, Miss Luo, wake up quickly and look at me and your mother. Upon hearing the voices of Mrs. Yang and Mrs. Luo, Zhao Luoyang really had a reaction. Her lips moved twice, her eyelashes trembled, and she slowly opened her eyes. Zhao Luoyang had just woken up, with a hint of confusion in her eyes. The scenery in front of her became increasingly clear, making her eyes gradually clear. The rain had stopped, and the gentle breeze in the forest brushed against her face. After the previous danger, everything returned to normal. But only Zhao Luoyang knew that everything was different, at least for her. In fact, the change that had happened to her for half a month had come suddenly, like a dream. Just half a month ago, there was something in her mind that claimed to cure her congenital deficiency. She initially didn't believe it, but it did slowly take effect. At Shijiu, Zhao Luoyang shouted in her mind, and a blurry figure immediately appeared in her mind. Shijiu also reminded her of the previous collapse of the mountain slope. Shijiu's cold and rigid voice rang out. The host saved people when the mountain slope collapsed, increasing charm by 15 points. We're meeting again. This time, the leader brings a new story with added elements of the system, hoping that everyone will enjoy it. Writing a new book is like starting a new journey, hoping that everyone can always be by their side, and also hoping that I can grow and bring everyone a better reading experience. The new regulations on the website now require us to follow and read the data. Please support us and do not save articles. Please leave comments and chapters every day. Thank you very much. In addition, for the new book event, please participate in the book circle of the old book, Happy Encounter with Good Times, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Rewards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Rewards. Zhao Luoyang only wanted to save people, and never expected that the system would reward him with this action. This was an unexpected joy, and it was also the first time Zhao Luoyang had gained charm points after having the system. Zhao Luoyang continued to communicate with Shijiu in his mind. How did you get here at 15 o'clock? Shijiu said, besides your family members, there are 15 people who sincerely thank you and praise you for your previous act of saving people. So charm value is a sincere gratitude and praise, but why not count it as a family member? Is it because she's afraid of her family favoring her? This system is really well thought out. There are naturally some people who have escaped the disaster due to her actions and do not feel grateful, so they cannot be included in the charm value. Zhao Luoyang continued, what can I exchange for at 15 o'clock? Shijiu said, I can exchange books and literature at the moment. Zhao Luoyang seems to have no time to read now. Can you exchange something for something to eat or use? Even if it's almost there, you can do anything like brown rice. Asking these questions makes it easier to understand the system. What they need most at the moment is also these things. Shijiu doesn't like to take the initiative to speak, so she can only ask little by little. Shijiu said, what can be exchanged for charm value can only be seen in the mind. To exchange for physical items, one needs to use wealth value. Zhao Luoyang glanced at a line of words that came to his mind. Wealth value. 3.3 yuan, charm value. 15 Shijio taught her how to read system values, but Zhao Luoyang still didn't know much about this strange thing called numbers, such as the current wealth value of 3.3, which she could understand, followed by 3, what is that? What is yuan? As for how 3.3 came about, Zhao Luoyang couldn't help but touch the purse around his waist, which contained 10 copper coins that his grandmother had given her. When she placed them in her hand, it was still warm, and it was not surprising that his grandmother had protected them in her chest. After handing over the copper plate to her, the wealth value of the system increased from 0 yuan to 3.3 yuan. You should know that 1 yuan can already buy 7 steamed dates, 2 yuan can buy a small piece of maltose candy, and my grandmother only spent 1 yuan to buy a patch of medicine from Dr. Suzuki for her cough. 10 yuan is not much, but it is not too little, but in the system, it is only 3.3 yuan. Zhao Luoyang was staring at the 3.3 yuan. Previously, Shijio said that the wealth value exchange area had not been opened yet and needed to wait. She had been looking forward to seeing the exchange area. Zhao Luoyang was just thinking about this when his eyes suddenly turned black, and his wealth value of 3.3 was gone. Zhao Luoyang was suddenly surprised and said, "What's wrong with this?" Shijio said, "This is to prepare for opening the exchange area. It seems that wealth value and charm value complement each other. Previously, there was no charm value, and the wealth value exchange zone was unwilling to be opened." Zhao Luoyang suddenly became very curious, not knowing what items he could exchange for. Shijio reminded, 3.3 yuan is not enough to exchange for anything. The host is still trying to increase their wealth value. Zhao Luoyang nodded. Shijio said, "Although the system has set up 4 stages and you are in the simplest task, given your current situation, there is no guarantee that you will be able to complete it. The task of the first stage is to help the entire Zhao family overcome poverty, and her personal charm value should reach over 1,000. If the task cannot be completed, the system will detach from her and search for the next host." Zhao Luoyang naturally did not want such a thing to happen. After all, she was congenital and needed systematic treatment. In Shijio's words, her illness was caused by damage to her brain and nerves. There is no good medicine in this world, only the system can heal her. Getting rid of poverty means having enough to eat and wear warm clothes. Not to mention this, just talking about 1,000 charm points sounds like a lot, not to mention that once the charm points are obtained, they will be spent and then accumulated again. Shijio always speaks straightforwardly, and with no emotional fluctuations in her voice. It sounds very cold. However, Zhao Luoyang knew that the so-called system was not considered a person, and naturally there were no emotions that people should have. Such a simple understanding would suffice. On the other hand, if we treat Shijio as a person, that person is exceptionally distant and indifferent, making it difficult to get along with. These days, Zhao Luoyang has gradually adapted to the existence of Shijio. As long as you treat Shijio as something that can speak human language, don't think of him as a person. Zhao Luoyang stopped speaking and waited for the system update to be completed. Shijio also fell silent, silently examining various data in the system. Initially, the system provided a unique guidance to the novice host through evaluation. Mother Luo's younger sister married a small merchant and happened to be going to the capital this time. Luoyang liked this niece and wanted to take Luoyang to the capital for treatment. Zhao Xueli and Luo both nodded and prepared to raise some silver to let Luoyang go to the capital. Zhao Luoyang's illness has greatly improved and his appearance is also good. This trip to the capital is an opportunity to meet more female relatives. With the help of the system, he can receive praise from the female relatives and improve faster. With all the changes in Zhao Luoyang's situation, he can help the Zhao family in turn. Shijio told Zhao Luoyang about these things, but Zhao Luoyang refused to leave. She even guessed from Shijio's words that there might be some changes at home. So, she found Mr. Zhao's letter of divorce in Mrs. Yang's house, and upon seeing it, she decided to move with her family. Since Zhao Luoyang deviated from the expected trajectory of the system, what will happen next? Shi Jiu couldn't tell, but Zhao Luoyang finally gained her charm value and successfully activated the system. Originally, how the host chooses was not a question that the system should consider, but Shi Jiu also concealed some insider information from Zhao Luoyang. Zhao Luoyang's completion of system tasks is related to his life and death. Shi Jiu lowered her head and looked at herself, a line of red characters floating on top, which only Shi Jiu could see. A piercing sound came from the ear. Warning, low health. After the red font, the data flashes. Health. 5%. When his health reaches 0, he will immediately disappear, and the way to increase his health is to help Zhao Luoyang complete tasks. Before relocating, he knew he was trapped in the system and didn't want to succumb to its arrangements. However, as he watched his health continuously decline, dropping to 1%, he had to speak to Zhao Luoyang. After gaining some trust from Zhao Luoyang, his health increased to 5%. Shi Jiu did not tell Zhao Luoyang that he was not a system, but a person, but why was he here? Who is he again? He is unaware. He doesn't want to be trapped here, but he can only gain more health through Zhao Luoyang. He can only escape from here when his health reaches 100%. And all of this depends on Zhao Luoyang. Where else does Miss Luo feel uncomfortable? Mrs. Yang's words interrupted Zhao Luoyang's contemplation. Ah nai, Zhao Luoyang opened his mouth and shouted, I'm fine now. Speaking, Zhao Luoyang reached out and grabbed Luo's hand, saying, Mother. Zhao Luoyang's words made both Mrs. Yang and Mrs. Luo blush, but their faces were filled with a joyful smile. Mrs. Yang reached out and touched Zhao Luoyang's forehead, saying, the fever has also subsided. Once we get some good food and take good care of it, we can completely recover. Normally, it's easy to raise, but in this situation, not to mention the delicious food, it's not easy to be full. Mrs. Yang made a decision in her heart and asked a few children to go to the forest every day to set up wild food for the girl. Where's Dad and Adi? As soon as Luoyang finished speaking, he saw two figures quickly approaching. Zhao Xueli, who went out to collect herbs, couldn't help but feel a little excited when he met Zhao Luoyang's gaze and said, Luoyang has woken up. 8-year-old Zhao Yuanrang rushed over crying and said, Ah Jie. Ah Jie had been lying like this for several days, which really scared him. He thought that Ah Jie, like the people he saw on the road, would collapse and never get up again. Zhao Luoyang looked at the herbs in his father and brother's hands, knowing that the whole family was busy for her, and couldn't help but feel a warmth in his heart. Zhao Xueli said, wake up and you'll be fine. After experiencing such ups and downs, the family can still be like this, which is considered a blessing from heaven. Moreover, Luoyang can still speak up, which is a joyous event that Zhao Xueli and Luo Shi cannot even imagine. After a brief moment of joy, Zhao Xueli looked at his daughter's injury with concern and said, if Luoyang's injury is not good, we can hurry on. Mrs. Yang didn't care, then we'll leave a few days later. Zhao Xueli responded, but frowned with concern. Roche noticed something unusual about Zhao Xueli and asked in a low voice, what's wrong? Zhao Yuanrang said nervously, there are dead people not far from the foot of the mountain, more than one has died. The officials accompanying us have already gone to investigate. Although Zhao Yuanrang was only 8 years old, he was clever and explained what he had just seen. Zhao Luoyang pondered in his heart that they were currently stuck in a forest, and it was not difficult for them to eat. The possibility of starving to death was not high, so how did people die? Eating poisonous fruits by mistake. Or what kind of illness did you get? The free period is updated at a fixed 13.00 every day, and after entering V, there will be double updates at 13.00 and 19.00 respectively. Thank you all for following up. In the current new book season, if you want to climb the list, you need to follow and read every day. Don't forget to take care of your book circle and chapters. Thank you for your company and support. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Control. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Control. Zhao Luoyang pondered on this side, and Luo Shi was already asking over there. Zhao Shuili said, Yuan Rang and I were in a hurry to come back, but we didn't see clearly. Xuejing and Xue went to inquire about the news. Mrs. Yang's heart sank as she heard that another person had died. With such a flustered and busy journey, she had to starve to death with a mouse behind her buttocks. Don't make any more fuss. Mrs. Yang looked at Luo and said, let the third and fourth wives bring the dolls over. The family gathered together and felt more at ease. A few days ago, Tao, the third wife, discovered that she may be pregnant. After Zhao Luoyang was injured, Gu Shi was afraid that the two children would cause trouble, and Tao Shi also needed to take care of him. The two of them took the children to rest not far away. Perhaps he noticed the movement here, and halfway through, Roche saw Tao and Gu approaching. Did Luo Ye wake up? Zhao San's wife, Tao Shi, immediately said. Roche nodded. Both Dao and Gu were beaming with joy. Although this niece is usually quiet, she is not as foolish as outsiders say. At least she is determined not to cause trouble for them on a regular basis, but instead helps them with some things. Recently, her niece has been getting better and better, and this time she has saved the whole family. Zhao Luoyang felt a chill on his forehead, and Zhao Yuan asked him to mash the herbs he had found and apply them to his wound. Is sister better? Zhao Yuan asked, his clear eyes to stare at Zhao Luoyang. Zhao Luoyang nodded and said, applying herbs is very soothing. Zhao Yuanrang whispered, the prescription was brought by my father from Grandpa Song. Zhao Luoyang knew about Prince Song, who was one of the wealthy families in this migration. The family used to have a large mansion in the city, but it was said that it was Prince Song's son who was imprisoned that brought them to their current situation. The Song family was not ostentatious, but Prince Song was very stingy. No matter who came forward to borrow items, Prince Song refused to give them, and I don't know how my father would let Prince Song help. Zhao Yuan asked the two children next to Tao and Gu to come forward. Zhao Yuanji, the eldest son of the Tao family, said, Sister A can speak now. She can speak in the future. Zhao Luoyang said, yes. Zhao Yuanji is 1 year younger than Zhao Yuan, and his innocent face is full of joy. Gu Shi looked at Zhao Yuanbao holding her leg. Yuanbao was timid and would only cling to her on weekdays. Gu Shi was furious and kicked Zhao Yuanbao with his foot, but Zhao Yuanbao still refused to come forward. Gu sighed in her heart, afraid that her son would not have any future achievements. Everyone was talking when Zhao Xuejing and Zhao Shui brothers returned. Zhao Xuejing walked fast, and behind him, Zhao Shui carried a few pieces of wood on his shoulders, sweating profusely from exhaustion. Seeing Zhao Luoyang, the two of them first came up to pay attention and then talked about the situation outside. Zhao Xuejing said, I have inquired with people and they all say that it has been too hot these days and they have contracted the heat evil. But I see that it's not the same thing. I just met Brother Ding, who was going to the city to buy food, but found that on the way to the city, not 1 or 2 people fell down. Brother Ding looked from a distance and didn't dare to step forward. Ding Maosheng and the Zhao family are located in the same village, and there is a lot of communication between the two families on weekdays. This time, they helped each other on the road and walked very close. Mrs. Yang said, with so many deaths all at once, is it really a pandemic? Zhao Shuili said, after the death of Prince Yu in battle, the northwest became chaotic, and many people in the Yamen had been transferred. If it weren't for this, the bandits wouldn't dare to be so rampant. Whether it's the epidemic or not, they definitely wouldn't be able to expect to go to the Yamen. We can't say this to anyone, but we need to have a plan in mind. Prince Yu has heard that he is only 19 years old this year. Despite his young age, he is already renowned and has achieved many military achievements. However, there are also some rumors that he was infected with murderous intent too early and was prone to anger and murder. When he entered the capital to face the emperor, he clashed with the Minister of Works and killed his father and son on the spot. As a result, he was punished by the emperor. The Zhao family will be aware of this, as it was Mr. Zhao who made a banquet for the young master outside the city. These words all came from the mouth of the young master outside the city. Young Lao Tai looked at Zhao Shui, the fourth brother, and said, "What about you?" Only your third brother said, "What did you ask?" Zhao Shui showed an awkward expression. Mrs. Yang continued to scold, "Go and inquire about the news. What are you doing with a few sticks of wood when you come back?" Zhao Shui smiled foolishly and said, "I'm not thinking about it. If Miss Luo doesn't improve for a while, I'll do something and take her to the city for medical treatment." While thinking about it, he even forgot about his inquiries. However, Zhao Shui remembered something unusual. "Just now in the woods, I seem to have seen the yellow yamen guard. I was planning to go up and say a few words, but who knew that the yellow yamen guard hurriedly left? By the way, the yellow yamen guard's face seemed to be covered with a cloth towel. On such a hot day, who wants to put those things on their face?" The sweat and hair on the entire Zhao family stood up. The three brothers of the Zhao family glanced at each other, and Zhao Shueli and Zhao Shuejing walked out again. This time, they had to come up with some truth when they went out. Dao's palms were sweating profusely. In such a place, there was not enough food to eat, let alone medication. There was really no way to survive and the epidemic was transmitted. Dao was extremely frightened on his side, and Zhao Shui began to tinker with wood, using the stones he had taken out of his house to grind his belongings. Mrs. Yang looked angry and was about to shout, but was stopped by Zhao Luoyang and said, "Ah Nai, let fourth uncle do it. Our family is old and small, and we can't tell who can use it." Mrs. Yang finally hoped that her granddaughter could speak up. Now, no matter what Zhao Luoyang said, she was willing to listen. Moreover, she felt that her granddaughter's words were reasonable, so she didn't bother anymore. Zhao Luoyang began to calculate the next thing, and the worst-case scenario was that he really encountered the epidemic. "Ah Nai," Zhao Luoyang whispered, "how much food do we have left?" Mrs. Yang touched the package under her body and found that all the food was here. She carried it wherever she went, including some coarse grains, some bran, dried vegetables, and large pancakes that were already cooked at home. In addition, there were 2 wild chickens beaten by her sons and wild vegetables and mushrooms they dug in the forest. Mrs. Yang doesn't boast. She manages food that no one can compare to. Who would say that as soon as she opens her eyes, she has to fill the stomachs of 11 people? At home, she prepared some food and dug up wild vegetables along the way. Even if you can dig wild vegetables without delaying your journey, you must be steady, accurate, and ruthless when you start. Even if a goose passes by, you have to pluck its feathers. Those who follow behind Mrs. Yang's buttocks will have little to gain. As for the silver money, everyone bought some things before departure and spent some on the way. Yesterday, Mrs. Yang took out some to give to the third lady and asked him to exchange some millet with his companions. The whole family still had less than 3 guan of money left. Most of this money was with her, and a small part was given to her 3 sons and daughter.in.law. As for how much silver money the daughter.in.law had brought from their mother's family, Mrs. Yang didn't think about it. Before coming out, the daughter.in.law had already provided a lot of subsidies privately, and if there was no other way out, she couldn't go and pick them up. There are quite a few things to look at now, but if there is no entry or exit, they will soon be finished, and the silver is even more expensive. There is no resistance to spending money on the way. Zhao Luoyang looked at the 2 wild chickens that had been set up, both of which only injured their legs and were still alive. Mrs. Yang said, "Do you want something to eat? Let your 4th uncle slaughter it for you to eat." Luoyang also came over to take care of her daughter. Zhao Luoyang shook his head and looked at old lady Yang and Luoyang, saying, Anai and Yang, if it's really an epidemic, the faster we can walk, the better. This chicken needs to be slaughtered immediately and grilled into jerky meat. There won't be so much time on the way to do this. Mrs. Yang is also calculating these things in her heart. She won't rely on the government office. Those government officials run faster than anyone when encountering problems. The granddaughter is right, she can't just wait for her two sons to inquire about information, they also need to make some preparations. Zhao Luoyang looked at Zhao Yuanrang and said, Did you say that the medicine for treating my injury was obtained by my father from Grandpa Song? Mr. Song said he couldn't understand any medical theory, but he could see it more clearly. Zhao Yuanrang nodded, and before sister could speak, he understood. I'll quietly go over and see what Grandpa Song is doing. The remaining people cannot be idle either. Luo Zhenyang and Gusher took a few children to fetch water and filled their water bags. Zhao Luoyang wanted to go with her, but was stopped by Mrs. Yang and said, I'm not feeling well yet, just rest here. Zhao Luoyang was forcibly pressed down and helped fourth uncle start the fire. Yang Lao Tai personally went to slaughter the wild chicken, and Tao followed closely to help. Zhao Luoyang was busy with his tasks while pondering. Shijiu, Zhao Luoyang said, what do you think is the current situation? Shijiu heard Zhao Luoyang's voice but did not immediately appear. He had just heard the conversation of the Zhao family, and suddenly felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. Warning. Health Point 1, Warning. Health Point 1 Zhao Luoyang shouted again, Time 9. Shijiu continued to not respond, but instead watched as the words in front of him changed. Warning. Health Point 2, Warning. Health Point 2, Warning. Health Point 2 Shijiu witnessed Zhao Luoyang's control over him with her own eyes, but if she didn't respond to her in time, she would lose more and more health points. Don't save up articles, read along every day, so that the leader can get some recommendations for this book. Also, let's take care of the book circle and chapters. In addition, there are two activities in this book, one is about rewards for chapters, and the other is about rewards for fan pictures. The rewards are both very generous, and you need to register on the old book, Happy Encounter at Good Times, Book Circle. There are many fan pictures that can be posted, such as the pancakes, wild vegetables, imagined systems, characters, and so on mentioned in the book. Thank you all for your support. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Exchange. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Exchange. Shijiu's gaze was deep, with lines of words. Zhao Luoyang called him no response once, with a duration of 0.1 health. He called it no response twice, with a duration of 0.2 health. If he called it no response 3 times, Shijiu made a faint sound before Zhao Luoyang spoke again. Health has not continued to decrease. The red letter flashed, and a line of characters appeared on Shijiu's body. Health value 4.2%. Shijiu's chest sank and his health decreased, causing him a momentary weakness. Fortunately, it was a gradual drop, not a percentage or percentage-based drop. Otherwise, he would have lost his life now. He just didn't respond, but he had to trade his life for it. This is the current status gap between him and Zhao Luoyang. The result was very frustrating, but Shijiu didn't lose anything. Now he can be considered to have a clear understanding of his health. Previously, his health was 5%, but now it has been reduced by 8 points to 4.2%. This means that his health is 1000 points, and to achieve 100% health, he still needs 958 points. Of course, this is without further deduction. Zhao Luoyang continued, Shijiu, did you hear what I just said to you? Host trust decreases, health 0.1, Shijiu, who had originally lowered her eyes, suddenly lifted her head and her gaze was as deep as the sea. It's 9:59 o'clock now. Even if there is a lot of unwillingness in his heart, after all, Sergio is not a reckless man. He has his own plans in his heart and will never seek his own death, let alone be discovered by Zhao Luoyang. She only needs to mobilize some emotions to kill him, otherwise she will be even more coerced in the future. So after a moment, Sergio had already adjusted her emotions as if nothing had happened. I heard it, Sergio spoke again in a calm tone, I will search for relevant information. Seeing that Sergio had returned to normal, Zhao Luoyang continued, I have seen it in my grandfather's collection of books. It was also September in the previous dynasty, on Jingxi Road. The weather was getting hotter, with heavy rain first and then a major epidemic, causing many deaths. After a moment, Sergio said, wet and hot weather can breed bacteria. The bodies of animals or people drowned in floods cannot be cleaned up in time, which further pollutes the water source. Drinking such water will make people sick. Even if there is no epidemic and the water quality is turbid after heavy rain, it should be boiled before drinking. Zhao Luoyang listened carefully. She couldn't fully understand some of what Sergio said, such as what bacteria and pollution are, but she could guess 7 or 8. When the mountain slope collapsed before, Sergio also said similar things. Zhao Luoyang continued, do you know anything else? If Sergio knew that she didn't need to pay any price for the exchange, her current charm value was too low, and she had to think of Sergio. Sergio shook her head and said, all I can see is a part of the database directory and introduction. These contents are provided for the system to have a simple understanding. If you want to know the detailed content, you can only exchange your charm value for books and literature. Sure enough, Zhao Luoyang couldn't keep taking it for nothing, and he was slightly disappointed. Zhao Luoyang thought of his charm value of 15. With a wave of Sergio's hand, many books appeared in Zhao Luoyang's mind. Zhao Luoyang looked at them one by one, and the prices marked under the books and literature ranged from tens to hundreds of charm values. Can her charm be exchanged for a book? Now that you have the charm value, why not give it a try? So what books does she want to exchange now to read? She is not familiar with medical theory and has not read books on medicine and stones. Even if there is a real epidemic, she cannot come up with a solution in a short period of time through a few books. But the charm value is not enough, I can only pick up the most important things to do. Zhao Luoyang said, are there any books that teach people how to survive outside? Books can help people know how to avoid danger. It would be even better if they could teach people how to avoid getting sick. In short, those who are traveling outside can smoothly reach the places they want to go. Sergio had to admit that Zhao Luoyang was quite clever and knew what he needed most at the moment. If it weren't for his innate shortcomings, he would have been more knowledgeable if he hadn't spent most of his time at home. Sergio searched for a moment and handed a book to Zhao Luoyang, saying, this is a simple version of the Wilderness Survival Manual that basically meets your requirements. Reading this book requires 12 points of charm. Zhao Luoyang opened the catalog and glanced at it. There were indeed books like Wilderness Survival Manuals, and it was written that they were essential for hikers. Zhao Luoyang was a bit stunned. She had never expected anything, after all, she had never heard of such a book. Zhao Luoyang couldn't help but ask, is this book specifically written for me by the system because I need it? As far as I know, it's not like that, Sergio said. All the things carried in the system are already owned by the world that created the system. So all the books in the library belong to the world of Sergio, and Zhao Luoyang once again became curious and yearning for that world. You should know how difficult it is to read a book because they have some books at home, which are envied by the people in the nearby village. She easily exchanged a book for it. If you tell others about this, it will definitely make them envious. Sergio asked again, can I exchange it? Without hesitation, Zhao Luoyang said, exchange. Watching the charm value instantly increase from 15 points to 3 points, Zhao Luoyang didn't feel heartbroken. Instead, he was very eager to carefully read the book. She has always envied children who can attend ethnic studies. Although she doesn't have a teacher, isn't this system just a teacher exclusively for her? Moreover, this teacher is unique, and what she teaches her is at least unique to them. Shi Jiu reminded Zhao Luoyang, it's best to find a quiet place to read. Start counting from the first page, and the book will disappear in 15 minutes. I can't keep flipping through it. Zhao Luoyang responded, saying that if it weren't for Shi Jiu's reminder, the book's exchange this time would have been wasted. Host trust increases, health +2, host trust value increases, health +1, suddenly adding 3 health points. Shi Jiu was quite surprised and indeed helped Zhao Luoyang, gaining Zhao Luoyang's favor. It was the best choice for adding health points. 956 more points are needed, and a number immediately floats in Shi Jiu's mind. The wealth exchange area has also been opened. Zhao Luoyang listened to Shi Jiu's voice and immediately noticed a change in front of him. The items in the exchange area were placed on top. Although she had been mentally prepared, she couldn't help but be surprised when she saw the exchange area. The exchange area was dazzling, thanks to being in my mind, otherwise Zhao Luoyang would have looked stunned now. She temporarily withdrew her spirit from the depths of her mind, and slowly looked over again. The things in the exchange area did not disappear, and Zhao Luoyang instinctively wanted to reach out for them. In the moment she lifted her hand slightly, she realized that she couldn't get them. But these things were clearly as if they were in front of her, and she could reach out and take them. If she has enough wealth, why would she be afraid of relocation? Just take it from the system, there's no need to suffer from hunger. Zhao Luoyang swallowed a mouthful, starting with what he knew. Rice. 2.8 yuan per jin, flour. 5.4/jin, mantu. 1 yuan, pancake. 2 yuan, eggs. 0.4 yuan per piece, salted duck egg. 4 yuan per piece, pork. 18 yuan per jin. In addition, there are compressed biscuits that Zhao Luoyang doesn't know, priced at 1 yuan per piece. Old bread costs 6 yuan per piece, mineral water costs 2 yuan per bottle, ham sausage. 2 yuan per piece, pickled vegetables. 1 yuan per pack, fruit sugar. 0.25 yuan per piece, Snickers. 5 yuan per piece. Zhao Luoyang's gaze swept over the food and found that there were other items in the exchange area. Guess what other items are in the exchange area? What will Zhao Luoyang exchange for the first time? Please leave a message, everyone. Interact with the leader and charge forward. Don't save money, let's catch up on the updates together. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Wealth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Wealth. In the exchange area, there are still some things that make Zhao Luoyang even more unfamiliar. If those were food before, then these are for use. Rainproof cloth. 9.5 yuan, first aid kit. 16 yuan, physiological saline. 3 yuan/500 ml. Other areas are temporarily gray, indicating that they have not been opened yet. I haven't seen too many before, and I wish I could take out each one to take a look. Unfortunately. Zhao Luoyang immediately looked at the wealth value. 3.3 yuan. Zhao Luoyang instinctively swallowed a mouthful, and since the relocation, everyone has been saving on food. They are a family of 4, with 3 uncles, and 3 uncles. In addition, Anai and 11 people, big and small, have to eat twice a day. Even if my father and 2 uncles always try to catch some wild animals, it is only a small subsidy, let alone they need her and 3 younger brothers to eat. Anai is now black and thin, with sunken eye sockets. Her father, mother, uncle, and aunt are not doing much better either. Aunt San may still have a baby in her belly, and with exhaustion and not enough to eat, everyone is walking slower and slower. If there is a slight disturbance, she may get sick. If she could get these foods, everyone would be able to eat enough every day, their spirits would be much better, and their feet would be faster. But not her wealth value is only 3.3 yuan. Zhao Luoyang sighed in his heart, but on second thought, he finally had some hope. The wealth value came from the silver money she had, and the transformation of her silver money into wealth value did not disappear. In other words, the wealth value should be given in vain. Since that's the case, is she still afraid that she won't be able to exchange things? After a while, she spoke to Shurjiu again and said, "Shurjiu, do you know what those things do?" When Zhao Luoyang checked, Shurjiu also looked at the items in the exchange area and said, "I entered the purpose of these items in my database beforehand. These are all ordinary products in the system's world." Shurjiu explained the items that Zhao Luoyang did not know. Zhao Luoyang focused on the emergency kit, which contained bandages and some healing drugs that could save lives in critical moments. Shurjiu continued, "There is one thing to pay attention to. Some items exchanged do not belong to your generation and should not be known to anyone other than you, otherwise you will face danger." Zhao Luoyang understood the meaning of Shurjiu. If she couldn't explain the origin clearly, she would inevitably be suspected. Once it was discovered that she could transform things out of thin air, perhaps someone would want to cut her whole body open and take a look. Shurjiu continued, "If the host makes a serious mistake, the exchange area will be permanently closed. So besides exchanging, she also has to find ways to cover up these things and not be noticed by anyone, otherwise it will not only be dangerous but also cause great losses." Zhao Luoyang responded, "I must be careful." Shurjiu said, "Do you want to exchange it?" "Change," Zhao Luoyang said. Zhao Luoyang avoided people and walked towards a remote place. After talking to Shurjiu about what to exchange, in no time, she had something in her palm out of thin air. It felt hard to the touch, like a cake that Anai had been baking for a few days. Zhao Luoyang tightly squeezed it and sniffed it like a thief. "It has a very fragrant taste." Zhao Luoyang touched her purse again, and the 10 yuan coins were still there. They didn't disappear just because they were exchanged. She couldn't help but curl her lips with joy. As expected, the wealth value was converted by the system through the silver money she earned. Using the wealth value, the silver money on her body would not be less. Suppressing his joy, Zhao Luoyang carefully looked at the compressed biscuits in his hand. This is the food from the world of the system, it's really different, at least different from what she has seen. When Shurjiu introduced the use of compressed biscuits, she said that compressed biscuits are convenient for long-term storage, increase satiety, and endure hunger. She thinks they are very suitable for their current situation, and it is 1 yuan per piece, which is one of the few things she can afford. Full stomach. That means being able to eat enough. Is this small thing really enough to eat? Even if sometimes Jiu's introduction is incomplete, Zhao Luoyang is still skeptical, but aside from the fact that he can eat enough, it smells really delicious, more appetizing than the best dim sum she has ever eaten. Zhao Luoyang's stomach immediately called out twice. Zhao Luoyang did not taste the compressed biscuit, but carefully placed it in a close-fitting cloth bag. Things must be put away properly, but half of her wealth is worth it, especially precious. Another reason for exchanging compressed cookies is that she needs to exchange something that is not available here, and then try to give it to her family without being detected, without receiving a system warning. Luo Zhenyang and Gusher brought Yuan Ji and Yuan Bao back to fetch water, and Zhao Luoyang finally came to her senses. She tidied up her clothes and walked quickly towards Luo Zhenyang. "Mother," Zhao Luoyang said, "the water we brought cannot be used directly. We need to boil it before pouring it." Luo Zhenyang didn't know where to go, and they often drank water directly from the well at home. Zhao Luoyang said, "I have read in my grandfather's book that some people get infected with the epidemic after drinking unburned water. Just in case, from now on, we can only drink boiled water. My daughter often sneaks to her father-in-law's place to look for books, but Luo Zhenyang is aware of it. When they fetch water, they also find that the water is very turbid due to the rainy weather. Thinking about it this way, it's better to be careful in the current situation. Gushi also said, listen to Luoya. Before, Luoya stopped us on the hillside and also read what was written in a book. In my opinion. What's the use of those exams for scholars and so on? Just saying those incomprehensible nonsense with one mouth, and after many years of failing the exam, it's still Luoya who learned well. After making the decision, Luo Zhenyang immediately arranged to boil water with her sister. In law. Looking at her daughter, Luo Zhenyang said, there's me in your third and here. You go take a rest. What worries Luo Zhenyang the most is her daughter. If she really has to rush, her body may not be able to hold on. Zhao Luoyang needed a quiet place to read the exchanged books, and upon hearing this, he did not refuse. He walked to the shade of a tree and lay on the prepared mat. Zhao Luoyang was very reassured. She knew that her mother would take care of her and would not call her up unless there was an urgent matter. Shizhou, Zhao Luoyang said, now help me take out the book. Before Zhao Luoyang opened the book, he remembered something and called out to Shizhou again, when I read a book, can you also see it? Shizhou said, when you are reading, you should be blocking me. Zhao Luoyang was somewhat disappointed. As a result, she could only remember as much as she could, and even Shizhou couldn't help. Zhao Luoyang took a deep breath and said, I'm ready. Shizhou was quietly watching Zhao Luoyang beside him. Zhao Luoyang pretended to be resting, tightly closed his eyes, but his mind was quickly flipping through the book. As he had expected, he couldn't see the content of the book, only Zhao Luoyang's constantly flipping hands. A quarter of an hour passed quickly. Zhao Luoyang still had more than 10 pages left to read, but the system clearly wouldn't give her any extra time. Zhao Luoyang watched as the book disappeared from his sight. It's gone. Thinking of the pages that I haven't finished flipping through, it feels like I've lost a lot of money. Next time she should be faster. Zhao Luoyang sighed and recalled what was written in the book. In fact, this book is not difficult to understand, and even looks easier than my grandfather's books. Even those who have not read a book can understand it a bit by listening to it once. However, there were also some things that Zhao Luoyang couldn't understand. Although most of them could be guessed accurately, it also slowed down her reading progress. This book not only teaches how to distinguish direction and avoid danger, but also the methods for dealing with common diseases and injuries, and even how to make simple weapons. The book page even draws simple pictures for better understanding. Books are not like those transcribed, they are like those printed by bookstores, but they are clearer and have neat handwriting. Such books are worth at least 151. But it can't be bought even with silver money. Only spent 12 charm points. Shizhou really found a good book for her. Zhao Luoyang remained silent all along, but Shizhou suddenly received a prompt. Gain host trust, health +1, gain host trust, health +1, +1, +1, +1, the health value keeps increasing, accumulating to 5 before stopping. Looking at the rows of +1, Shizhou had an unexpected feeling that this small +1 would also affect his emotions. After all, this is the first time he has increased his health so frequently since patiently answering system questions and increasing it from 1% to 5%. Did Zhao Luoyang find what she wanted to read in the book? Otherwise, how could he keep adding health to him? We still need 951 points. Shizhou was thinking about how to inquire with Zhao Luoyang when he saw Zhao Yuanrang running over through Zhao Luoyang. Upon hearing footsteps, Zhao Luoyang opened his eyes and then saw Zhao Yuanrang sweating profusely. Luo Zhenyang was about to remind Yuanrang not to disturb his elder sister when she found that Zhao Luoyang had already sat up. Zhao Yuanrang immediately leaned over, and the siblings quietly touched and spoke. Sister, Zhao Yuan gave way, Grandpa Song is organizing his belongings and seems to be able to move at any time. Zhao Yuanrang said with a regretful expression on his face, I wanted to inquire about the news, but Grandpa Song refused. If only we had eggs. Upon hearing this, Zhao Luoyang's face showed a slightly surprised expression. Why do we need eggs? Zhao Yuan gave way and said, Grandpa Song loves to eat eggs. Last time we met bandits, when Grandpa Song ran away, he lost all his eggs. This time, my dad asked for medicine for my sister, and coincidentally, my third and fourth uncles found a wild chicken nest. My dad took 3 wild eggs and exchanged prescriptions with Grandpa Song. If we had eggs, it's hard to say what we would hear from Mr. Song. Unfortunately, we don't have it. Zhao Luoyang said quietly for a moment, is that so? Eggs, she has them. And not just one can be exchanged. Follow up on updates as usual every day, ask for comments and explanations from book enthusiasts on social media. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Selling Eggs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Selling Eggs. Zhao Yuan frowned and thought of an idea. Grandpa Song lost the egg, but there were other foods to eat. The big cake of the Song family looked even better than what they had in their hands. Ordinary food cannot impress Grandpa Song. Either take more pancakes to try, but we also need our own rations. Unless we dig another pheasant nest. How difficult is that? Otherwise, he would climb trees to find bird eggs. Sister, Zhao Yuan gave way. Dad said that during this season, it's reasonable to say that even wild chickens don't lay eggs, so we can also pick them up. His point is that this should not be possible. Before Zhao Yuan could finish speaking, Zhao Luoyang said, did anyone touch the bag I carried when I fainted? No, Zhao Yuan didn't expect Jie to ask this, thinking for a moment, Jie's bundle is right there, and no one has opened it. Zhao Luoyang has always disliked people touching her things, and the Zhao family is aware of it. When she came out this time, Luo Xingyang specially prepared a bundle skin to let Zhao Luoyang tidy up her things. After Zhao Luoyang fainted, everyone was busy taking care of her, and no one would have the mood to check her baggage. Zhao Luoyang said, in that case, we will have eggs. Zhao Yuanrang seemed to have heard an incredible thing, his eyes wide open, and after a while, he blinked and flickered. Zhao Yuan gave way and said, really? Zhao Luoyang nodded and said, I have hidden a few eggs in my bag for use on the road. If no one touches them, the eggs will definitely not be damaged. I'll go get the things and let's go to Grandpa Song's place together. Last time I met a bandit, the first person to notice the clues was Grandpa Song. The Zhao family could have seen this clearly, otherwise my father wouldn't have asked Grandpa Song for a prescription this time. Don't be fooled by what happened to the Song family, but after all, there have been descendants of officials in the family. It's hard to say that Lord Song has some connections, and if we can't find out, even if it's not possible, Zhao Luoyang can still sell eggs to Lord Song. An egg costs 0.4 yuan, and 1 yuan can be exchanged for 0.33 yuan. She can earn 0.26 yuan for 2 yuan, which is just her wealth value. In fact, she still earns 2 yuan for nothing. After running so far, it's not expensive to get an egg for 2 yuan from Grandpa Song. As Zhao Luoyang and Zhao Yuanrang were about to leave, Old Lady Yang and Luo Xingyang couldn't help but ask, what are you two going to do? Zhao Luoyang said, go and thank Prince Song. Mrs. Yang didn't know Zhao Luoyang's thoughts and said, that old man is not very picky. He has too many tricks and is very cunning. Even if he farts, he has to use it to warm up his bed. We don't have any good things to exchange for him at home, so it's useless to go there. Zhao Yuanrang wants to say that this is not necessarily because Sister A has eggs in her hand. The two of them insisted on leaving, and Luo Xingyang could only advise, go and go back quickly. Your father will be back in a while. After Luo Xingyang finished speaking, she still didn't feel at ease and wanted to go with her. Zhao Yuan said, don't worry, Mom. Grandpa Song is right ahead and will be there in a few steps. With me taking care of sister, there won't be anything wrong. Only then did Luo Zhenyang agree. On the way, Zhao Luoyang's mind called out to Shizhou. Shizhou, Zhao Luoyang said, can you tell who gave me my 15 charm points? She remembers when the mountain slope collapsed, Grandpa Song was right behind her. Shizhou said, you can check the charm value record. Shizhou said that she had already opened the charm value record. Zhao Luoyang glanced and saw that there were indeed 6 members of Ding Maosheng's family, as well as widow Xia in the village, 3 members of the Niu family in the west of the village, and blacksmith Wu. There are a total of 5 people in the Wu family during this relocation, but only Wu blacksmith has charm value. Zhao Luoyang didn't care about these things. He continued to look down, followed by his grandmother and grandson who had been walking with Nai a lot, and finally Song Ji and Song Er. This should be Mr. Song and the old family of the Song family. There really is. Zhao Luoyang felt a little more at ease in her heart. It wasn't because she had increased her charm that she thought Mr. Song was a good person, but she could also see something. It is not easy to sincerely thank others. Zhao Luoyang seems to have discovered another use of the system. Besides exchanging things, he can also explore sincerity through his charm value. Master, that child from the Zhao family is here again. Grandpa Song looked up and indeed noticed 2 figures. The Zhao family child not only went back and forth, but also brought another one. Grandpa Song turned his head and lay on the prepared mat, closing his eyes and taking a nap. When the group started moving, they heard that Prince Song's son had served as an official, and even if he was punished, he should still have some family background. Therefore, some people began to talk to Prince Song. Mr. Song has a really bad temper. With his eyes rolled, he hardly knows how to deal with people. If anyone else comes closer, he will speak harshly and drive them away. After a long time, everyone found that Grandpa Song appeared to be wearing well on the surface, but in fact, the clothes under his robe were also patched. Grandpa Song only supported his face and didn't necessarily have much silver. In this way, no one cares about this old man anymore. I come to express my gratitude to Grandpa Song. Mr. Song heard the little girl from the Zhao family speak, but she remained motionless. The old servant of the Song family had a heart to entertain the Zhao siblings, but the Song prince just didn't respond. My old master must be tired, Song Er said. I'll tell him when he wakes up later. The old servant of the Song family was speaking, but Zhao Luoyang saw the arm of the Song prince move. This is obviously too lazy to even pretend, and most people turn around and leave when they see this scene. Zhao Luoyang spoke to Song Er, Grandpa, do you know how many people have died over there? Song Er was taken aback and instinctively went to see Prince Song. Grandpa Song remained motionless. Song Erdeo said, I heard, didn't the Yamen guard go to check? Zhao Luoyang nodded and said, there are many dead people, so you need to be cautious. It's best to boil the water before drinking. Song Er didn't expect the 2 children of the Zhao family to talk about these things. Who told you that the water needs to boil before drinking? Mr. Song's voice came, and as he spoke, he turned to look at Zhao Luoyang and Zhao Yuanrang, but they still didn't get up. Zhao Luoyang said, my grandfather has something written in a book. Grandpa Song said, every family knows a lot about children. Are you reading a book about medical theory? Zhao Luoyang shook his head and said, I don't know either. They are all handwritten scattered books. It is already good for a poor family to have a few handwritten books, without titles or origins, so it is impossible to verify. Zhao Yuan looked proud and said, my elder sister is amazing. She has read a lot of books, otherwise she wouldn't have noticed the collapse of the mountain slope in advance. Grandpa Song witnessed this with his own eyes. Grandpa Song said, you came to me just to say these things. Zhao Luoyang responded, I was injured before. Thanks to your help, I know you have medical knowledge, so I asked my younger brother to come and take a look at the situation here. If you are prepared, We will also learn from you. Zhao Yuanrang clearly did not expect that Jie would be honest and truthful, and whether Prince Song would angrily drive them away. However, I didn't see anything. Zhao Luoyang changed his tone, and I don't know what your plans are. I just wanted to remind you. Zhao Luoyang looked as if he was a bit disappointed. Grandpa Song was suddenly stabbed, and this girl seemed to underestimate him, thinking that he couldn't tell those people were infected with the epidemic. Does he need a little girl to remind him? She thought they were just facing an epidemic. I don't even know if someone will sell me in the future. Grandpa Song waved his hand and said, a little girl, after reading a few books, thinks she knows more. Hurry up, don't disturb me to sleep here. Zhao Luoyang didn't leave, instead he reached into his small cloth bag and said, we don't know much, so I'm here to ask you to tell me. If you're willing to tell me, I'll sell you the eggs for only 2-1. Upon hearing the words egg, Grandpa Song opened his eyes again and looked over in surprise. He saw Zhao Luoyang reaching out his hand and holding an egg in his palm. Grandpa Song was surprised and said, let me tell you, can you sell my eggs? Do you know that you still need 2-1? Grandpa Song wants to say, do you know how many training courses others offered me when I was teaching? Even if his son is imprisoned this time, someone will still send him a message, but he will be stripped of his official position and not worry about his life. This girl not only refuses to repair him, but also wants him to spend money to buy her eggs. What a bold and clever calculation. Does the girl from the Zhao family think he would still nod and agree like this? The good play is gradually beginning, everyone should follow closely. I see everyone saying that it's impossible to exchange planes and AK-47s, but I will see some interesting exchanges. Come on, Vegetable Basket Project. Don't forget to post more books and chapters on social media, the leader loves everyone so much. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Persuasion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Persuasion. Grandpa Song blew his beard and widened his eyes. Although he didn't finish speaking, Zhao Luoyang could guess everything from 8 to 9. But the system can only exchange eggs, and now no matter who wants something, it's not possible to give her money. So Zhao Luoyang's face remained unchanged and he patiently said, Grandpa, I am willing to sell you the eggs because I don't have what you have. These eggs are in the market, and when they are expensive, they cost 3-1 each, let alone in such a place. I don't know what I will encounter if I move forward. If you want me to sell, I definitely don't want to sell, but if I could ask for your advice. At this point, Zhao Luoyang's face showed reluctance, as if he had made a great decision and said, you can sell it for 2-1. So he's actually just an addition to Zhao's egg sales. Grandpa Song suddenly felt that the girl from the Zhao family had always been unable to speak before, probably because of the love of heaven for her. Otherwise, her mouth would be so infuriating. And she would inevitably be beaten. Mr. Song thought that after the Zhao family girl finished speaking, he would speak up and refuse. Who knew? Zhao Luoyang added, you taught us not to lose, and we will repay you with kindness. One hero has 3 helpers, and during difficult times, there will always be someone to support us. My father and uncle are young and strong, and we will not burden you. 1 hero, 3 helpers is written in the book exchanged by the system, which Zhao Luoyang had never heard of before, but found it very relevant. The book specifically states that it is safer to travel together in the wild because no one can predict what will happen. Mr. Song had never encountered such a sharp-mouthed girl before. She explained everything in a logical and clear manner, yet still looked aggrieved. Next to him, Song Air had already shown an unbearable expression and couldn't help but wink at him, obviously wanting him to give some help to the little girl of the Zhao family. Grandpa Song glared at him in anger. Some people may seem weak and pitiful, but in fact, they may not be like this, just like the girl Zhao in front of them. Grandpa Song said, 1 hero, 3 helpers. Did you read this from a book? Zhao Luoyang shook her head and spoke shamelessly. Anyway, no one could expose her and said, I thought it myself. Grandpa Song sneered and said, it doesn't make sense. I don't know where the sky is and where the earth is. It sounds like a rebuke to Zhao Luoyang. Shi Jiu looked through Zhao Luoyang and saw all of this. Song Tae clearly knew something, but unfortunately, he was too cautious. Zhao Luoyang spoke both good and bad things, but he couldn't move Song Tae. At present, it is really an epidemic, and Grandpa Song is not so cautious. Obviously, there is another insider involved. Even if the eggs were not sold, Zhao Luoyang's trip was not in vain. Shi Jiu was thinking about it when suddenly he felt a fluctuation in the data. A line of numbers slowly appears. Charm value +1. Shi Jiu couldn't help but be surprised. He opened the charm value record and saw that the charm value came from the disdainful Mr. Song in front of him. Saying words of disgust, yet admiring Zhao Luoyang in your heart. If it weren't for systematic exploration, who would have known the truth? After pausing for a moment, Shi Jiu reminded Zhao Luoyang, Grandpa Song has added 1 charm point to you. Although Zhao Luoyang hoped to persuade Prince Song in his heart, he did not expect the surprise to come so quickly. After finally suppressing the smile that was about to rise, Zhao Luoyang continued, Master Song, do you really don't want eggs? These eggs are delicious and look bigger than usual. Take a closer look, my milk said. The eggs laid by my chicken are good and can nourish the body. Zhao Luoyang once again took out the eggs. Grandpa Song can't listen anymore. Is this called a conversation? Is the egg laid by her own chicken good? Do other people's chickens lay bad eggs? Also, which egg cannot nourish the body? The reasons are all made up so perfunctorily. However, it reminded Grandpa Song of the fragrance of eggs. He peeled the skin, soft and tender, and took a bite. Grandpa Song couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of water and said calmly, since it's so good, won't you keep it for yourself? Zhao Luoyang shook his head and said, my family consists of 11 people, big and small. Even if eggs can save lives, who will they be given to eat? But a few words of advice can help our whole family smoothly reach Taozhou. Upon hearing this, Grandpa Song felt a sense of relief in his heart. This girl had some discerning eyes. Often, what saved people was not food, but a sharp gaze that could discern every detail. Grandpa Song has not seen such a clever younger generation for many years, and the Zhao family is also quite good. If we just watch them being calculated charm value +1 when not in use this time, Jiu informed that Zhao Luoyang saw the jumping value in his mind. Compared to just now, Zhao Luoyang felt even happier in his heart. He didn't expect to add 2 points of charm after just saying a few words. Grandpa Song no longer urged the Zhao siblings to leave, but looked at Zhao Luoyang and said, since you guessed about the epidemic, what preparations have you made? Zhao Luoyang said, my father and third uncle have gone to inquire about the news. Nai is cooking food with her aunt, and my mother has also boiled water and filled all her water bags. She can leave here at any time. Grandpa Song stroked his beard and said, I've thought it all out. Upon hearing the praise, Zhao Luoyang couldn't help but look at the charm value, but unfortunately there was no fluctuation. It seems that not every word of praise can earn the charm value. Grandpa Song continued, since everything is ready, what else do you want to ask me? Zhao Luoyang said, you know medical skills and must have gone to see those who died of illness. Is the epidemic severe at this time? Is there a way to prevent it? Grandpa Song shook his head and said, the epidemic is not so easy to treat. It's not like your injury. Just find some medicinal herbs to stop bleeding. If you want to prevent it, you need to start earlier and stay away from those patients. Zhao Luoyang listened carefully and saw a hint of solemnity in Grandpa Song's gaze. Grandpa Song said, since you asked me, I might as well say a few more words. There are 70 or 80 people we are relocating together, although they all come from the same place. After all, people are separated by their stomachs, so it's best to think carefully and not easily trust others. Zhao Luoyang carefully thought over the words of Prince Song, and his words were somewhat insightful. Zhao Luoyang wanted to inquire about more information, but judging from Grandpa Song's appearance, even if she asked, Grandpa Song wouldn't answer. However, some of these relocated people have different identities, which can be further explored. Zhao Luoyang said, "Can you believe the official who moved with us?" Obviously, Grandpa Song did not expect Zhao Luoyang to ask like this. He was stunned for a moment. Although he immediately disguised himself as peaceful, he was still caught by Zhao Luoyang. The official cannot believe it, and most likely the problem lies with the official. Grandpa Song pretended to be impatient and said, "How do I know? I'm just telling you, people have ulterior motives. When we encountered bandits before, those bandits were obviously well prepared and could not be reported. The current epidemic is in chaos, so hurry up and don't let those with intentions take advantage." Zhao Luoyang looked educated and said, "Thank you very much for the guidance of Prince Song. I will go back and quietly tell my family that I will definitely not spread this word." Grandpa Song stared at Zhao Luoyang. What did he point out? "But even if we don't admit it now, it's too late." Grandpa Song couldn't help but wave his hand, trying to drive away the Zhao siblings. Zhao Luoyang pulled Zhao Yuanrang and the two of them bowed to Prince Song together. However, after a moment, the atmosphere between the two was different from before. "I have become much closer with Bai." Looking at Zhao Luoyang, who followed the rules and etiquette, Grandpa Song had a vague feeling of teaching his students. Once upon a time, he also had a proud disciple who listened to the teachings and brought tea and water. But the next moment, Grandpa, Zhao Luoyang said, "Do you still want to buy eggs?" Originally, after circling around, she still hadn't forgotten to sell the eggs to him. His reminder couldn't be worth an egg. He doesn't have such a student. Grandpa Song said, "It's been a while since we set off, your eggs don't smell bad." Zhao Luoyang shook his head and said, "No, I don't believe you can try it. If you want to taste it, you have to buy it." Grandpa Song looked at the egg and although he was unhappy, he slowly took out one from the cloth bag around his waist. Zhao Luoyang read it over and over again, but there was not much. Grandpa, Zhao Luoyang collected one neatly and continued, "If I find eggs again, will you still buy them?" Grandpa Song nodded subconsciously. Where did the Zhao girl go to get eggs again? Zhao Luoyang said, "Is it still sold to you like this?" Grandpa Song responded, "Someone bent over for 3 dough of rice, and today he has lost face for the sake of eggs." "Have you finished speaking now?" Grandpa Song was about to wave his hand to drive the Zhao siblings away, but he found that the Zhao girl reached into the cloth bag she was carrying with her and soon pulled out an egg. "Mr. Song," Zhao Luoyang said, 2 coins. "The work has been signed. Everyone can compare their hearts to the characters. Every day, there are free hearts for the characters they like. Can you help push Luoyang up? The new book also has a fan activity. Today is the last day, and the rewards are generous. Everyone, go and participate. I need to register in the fan activity post posted by the operation official on the book friend circle of Happy Encounter with Good Times. Join. Then post posts in Encounter Good Times and this book, as well as within the book circle. The title of the post should include fan activity, with 4 words and a book title. Everyone can brainstorm the content of the post. It can be products that appear in the system and products that are predicted to appear in the system. It can also be a portrait of the male and female protagonists. This reward is very generous, don't miss it. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Little Fox Thanks the Leader. Butterfly Tofu Pudding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Little Fox Thanks the Leader. Butterfly Tofu Pudding. Grandpa Song didn't expect the Zhao girl to be able to pull out an egg, and then he had a bad feeling. Since she said it before, she will buy it if she has him, and she can't go back now. Grandpa Song took the eggs and counted out 2 coins. The money was given, but Grandpa Song's eyes were fixed on the hand of the Zhao family girl, who pulled out another egg as if playing a trick. Grandpa Song's beard flew up. When Zhao Luoyang pulled out the egg for the 4th time, Grandpa Song was afraid that he couldn't help but curse loudly. He knew this girl was a scammer, saying that she wouldn't be willing to eat or save the whole family. She didn't have an egg hidden in her pocket. In the blink of an eye, he bought 4 eggs and spent 8 won. I can still exchange money on the way to move, this girl must be the first one. He teaches and spends money, which is also his first responsibility. When Zhao Luoyang reached into the cloth bag again, she felt that Prince Song's eyes were about to burst with fire. Mr. Song is quite kind and has given her the most charms so far. You can't get angry with him. When Zhao Luoyang extended his hand again, there was nothing in his palm. Mr. Song's face did not improve as a result. Instead, he suddenly straightened his spine and placed the 2 coins in his hand on the ground, just like the red-eyed people in the gambling house, shouting, "Take them out." It seems like Zhao Luoyang doesn't have any eggs, so Grandpa Song is going to be anxious with her. Everyone, old and young, put in a lot of effort. Zhao Luoyang said, "It's gone." Grandpa Song didn't even blink his eyes and took out a penny again. "Take it out," he said. Zhao Luoyang shook his head and said honestly, "It's really gone." Grandpa Song ruthlessly took out another penny and finally emptied this girl, right? Isn't it quite impressive? Taking out eggs one by one, do you think you won't be able to afford them the next moment? Grandpa Song's face gradually began to smile. The girl had been imposing for a long time, and now the feng shui is taking turns. Are there no eggs left? He still has money. Grandpa Song put down another penny. Zhao Luoyang pursed his lips tightly. Grandpa Song thinks this girl is extremely interesting, but she is just a little fox and wants to fight against him, an old fox that has become a demon. Today, the old fox will teach the little fox well. Mr. Song completely forgot that he had bought a few eggs for his own money before, and at this moment it seemed like he had picked up a big bargain. Zhao Luoyang looked at Grandpa Song's hand, and Grandpa Song took out another penny. 6 articles. Zhao Luoyang's eyebrows furrowed even tighter. Grandpa Song's smile became increasingly brazen, and Song Air beside him couldn't bear to watch anymore. His old master was also too. Even a little doll wanted to bully him. Zhao Luoyang is really worried. She gave a lot of money. Without her saying, Grandpa Song took it out one by one, and now she feels a bit embarrassed to take it. The surroundings are peaceful. Zhao Yuanrang has been silent since Jia sold eggs to Mr. Song, and has been watching from the side. He always feels that this scene will forever remain in his memory. Grandpa Song not only told Sister A the news, but also bought eggs from Sister A one by one. Although in the end, the eggs were gone and I couldn't take these 6 won coins away, I felt a little reluctant. However, when I think about those gains, there were also quite a few. Satisfaction is the key to success. Zhao Yuanrang reached out to comfort Jia, but Jia first reached out to grab the 6 won coins lying on the ground. Stop as soon as it's good. Grandpa Song didn't want to anger this girl, so he reached out to retrieve the 6 won coins. However, he didn't expect a small hand to cover the 6 won coins first. What's going on? Want to grab it? Grandpa Song was about to speak when he saw Zhao Luoyang extending his other hand, with an egg in his palm. Mr. Song's mouth slowly opened, as if he had seen a ghost, and his gray beard fluttered in the wind. Zhao Luoyang didn't give Song Tae a chance to regret it. She put down the egg and bowed, saying, "Tae, you bought the egg. If there's anything I can do, I'm always here to ask for your advice." Grandpa Song stood there in a daze. She took 6 won and didn't forget to remind him that selling eggs not only costs money, but also requires his assistance. Failed. He really fell through this time. He was determined to defeat the Zhao family girl, but instead fell into her trap. If his ancestors knew about it, they would scold him for being incompetent to their descendants. When Emperor Taizu rebelled, the Song family donated half of their wealth, indicating that their ancestors were good at identifying people, but they couldn't see through a little girl. His Song family ancestor was a genius, how could he decline to this place? Mr. Song sat cross-legged, with eggs in his clothes. After being beaten by the little girl, he surprisingly began to think about his family's affairs like this. A Taoist once said that the Song family should give away all their family wealth to ensure the stability of their descendants for 6 generations. However, he did not expect to give only half of it. As a result, the remaining family wealth would not only be difficult for their descendants to hold on to, but they would also face a setback. Now this statement has come true for him. He also wanted to show his ambition and carefully trained a few students. They plunged in with a sudden force, not even a splash of water came out, one died, and the 2 drifted with the flow, eating their stomachs full of fat. Now even their own son has suffered a big setback. My son is still a bit unwilling, but he has become disheartened. With this relocation, he wants to stay away from the chaos, go to a peaceful place to retire, and stay away from the troubles. But today his emotions were fluctuating, and he suddenly thought about these things again. In the gap between these thoughts, the Zhao family girl appeared in front of him, repeatedly counting 2-1. What is the good number of 2-1? Don't you think he gave too little? The girl looked honest, but she didn't know what she was thinking in her heart. He was easily aroused to be competitive, and as a result, he was cheated out of 4-1 by the Zhao family girl. Shame on the face. When Grandpa Song thought of this, he actually laughed. This girl is interesting, fighting with her is interesting, and fighting with her is also interesting. It's hard to say that he won't be lonely all the way. Grandpa Song was about to put away the eggs when he walked over quickly alone. Zhang Yi took off the cloth towel from his face and looked at Grandpa Song, also noticing the egg in his arms. Zhang Yi's face changed. Did you let your hometown people into the city? Grandpa Song is not in good health and cannot eat too much coarse food. Originally, the Song family brought a lot of eggs, but unfortunately they lost them during the banditry. The old Song family wanted to go to the city to buy them, but they found that there might be an epidemic in the city. Zhang Yi thought that Master Song was knowledgeable in medicine and wouldn't let his hometown people take risks, but he didn't expect, no, it was bought from someone else, Grandpa Song said shyly as he mentioned the Zhao family girl and turned the topic aside. You found any clues? Zhang Yidao said, in the northwest direction, I saw footprints and someone followed us all the way. Grandpa Song said, are those mountain bandits? Zhang Yi shook his head and said, I can't be sure, but there are quite a few people. Those who are watching Huang Yai saw that he secretly went to the northwest yesterday. Grandpa Song furrowed his brow slightly, but there was not much surprise on his face. The bandits came too quickly this time and he knew them too well. After the incident happened, he immediately thought of the possibility of someone colluding inside and outside, so he discussed with Zhang Yi. Zhang Yimo silently investigated and found clues on Huang Yiji. Zhang Yi is a household official who will accompany the relocated people from Hedong Road to Taozhou and fulfill his duties along the way. However, Huang Yafu was different. He secretly plundered silver money everywhere, and people were also sneaky. Although he did not catch Huang Yafu interacting with the mountain bandits, Zhang Yi believed that it was Huang Yafu who was causing trouble. Grandpa Song said, the yellow yamen is just a passing yamen in the jurisdiction. When we leave Qingzhou, the yellow yamen will change shifts with the yamen in the next jurisdiction. So if they want to take action again, they will definitely do it before we leave Qingzhou. Zhang Yi frowned and said, there's another epidemic happening right now. I'm afraid we'll have to set off soon. Didn't we give Huang Yai a chance? At this point, Zhang Yilu hesitated a bit and said, they are not afraid that the relocated people will suffer too many deaths and injuries, and they will also be punished in the future. Grandpa Song, who had seen many methods, stroked his beard and said, "There are ways to get rid of guilt. I can think of any one for you. With the current epidemic, they have too much time to consider. Even if the bandits kill someone, they only need to surround and kill them, and perhaps they can still make great contributions." Zhang Yi opened his eyes wide. Grandpa Song said, "Didn't you say that the court ordered various regions to suppress bandits? How could Qingzhou let the bandits run rampant? Isn't this a good opportunity to make contributions?" Zhang Yi was like a sudden enlightenment, everything was clear. After a moment, he clenched his fists and said, "No matter what they're fighting, no matter what, they can't succeed under my nose. What do you plan to do?" Grandpa Song raised his eyes slightly. "You are just a small official and cannot mobilize manpower. Even if you are sued by the government office, the Qingzhou government office will believe that you are still the yellow government office. When the yellow government office discovers the clues, they bite back and accuse you of colluding with thieves." Zhang Yi's face was heavy. "What do you mean? Even if we detect it in advance, we still can't leave." Grandpa Song looked at the egg in front of him and said, "I used to think you were weak and isolated, but now it seems. I can't say there's a 50.60 chance." Zhang Yi's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, "Speak clearly." Grandpa Song said, "You can't do it alone. If there is someone among the relocated people who can help, it will be different." Zhao Luoyang and Zhao Yuan asked their siblings to walk back quickly, but they were stopped by Song Air just a few steps away. Song Air handed a cloth bag to Zhao Luoyang. "If you're hungry on the way and don't have anything to eat, come find me," said the old man from the Song family with a kind expression on his face. Zhao Luoyang was about to refuse, but with a flash in her heart, she accepted the item again. "I don't know if what someone else gave her can be considered as wealth value." Zhao Luoyang and Zhao Yuanrang thanked Song Air. Zhao Yuanrang wished he could see Anai, father, and mother immediately, so that he could tell his family everything that had just happened. Zhao Luoyang also had such thoughts, but she was still concerned about the numerical changes in the system. The siblings thought this way and ran faster. Thank Butterfly Tofu Pudding for being the first leader of this book. Let's celebrate with a longer chapter. Thank you again for Xiaojie's support. Everyone compare their hearts to the characters, check in and post on the book circle, and share their thoughts. The new book needs care, please everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Surprise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Surprise. On the way back, Zhao Luoyang called Shijio in his mind. Shijio appeared immediately. Zhao Luoyang said, "Shijio, how much has my wealth value increased?" Just now she sold 5 eggs, the first 4 were all 2-1, and the last one was 6-1. She received a total of 14-1, with a wealth value of 0.33 yuan per one, which should be 4.62 yuan. I bought a compressed biscuit and 5 eggs for my previous wealth value, and there is still 0.3 yuan left. This calculation Shijio said, the wealth value is 4.92 yuan. Zhao Luoyang was delighted and made a lot. Not only did she earn a lot of wealth, but she also had an extra 14-1 in her hand. By the way, she still had 2 points of charm. Shijio said, when you left from Grandpa Song, you added 1 charm point from the old family who served him. It has another charm value. It seems that saving lives is not necessary to have charm value, as long as you sincerely thank and praise the system, it can be recognized. Zhao Luoyang said, the Song family returned me some things. Can this count towards my wealth value? Shijio was aware of what had just happened, and he carefully examined the rules regarding wealth value. Shijio said, calculate, but how much can be calculated depends on the system's evaluation. I don't know how the system will calculate. What else did the Song family give her? The cloth bag is very light, and Zhao Luoyang speculates that it should be filled with food or medicinal herbs. The only ones that can be used at the moment are these 2. Zhao Luoyang pondered for a moment, and Zhao Yuan had already seen Luo Zhenyang. Luo Zhenyang is worried about her children and is looking over here. Mother. Before Luo Zhenyang could speak, Zhao Yuan quickly ran over and whispered in Luo Zhenyang's ear, Mom, sister has heard the news. In addition to hearing the news, he also sold eggs. In the latter half of the sentence, Zhao Yuanrang did not mention that the fact that Jia brought eggs out is unknown to the family. Whether or not to tell the truth depends on Jia's intentions. Looking at her excited and joyful son, Luo Zhenyang looked at her daughter in surprise and said, Has Mr. Song spoken to you? Zhao Luoyang responded and looked around. Someone was walking not far away. Luo Zhenyang understood her daughter's meaning, it was inconvenient to speak here, so she didn't ask further. Zhao Luoyang said, Has Dad and Uncle come back? Luo Zhenyang nodded and said, I'm back. Your father saw that you weren't there, so he asked me to go find you. Zhao Luoyang took Luo Zhenyang's hand and said, Let's go back and talk about it. Zhao Xueli and Zhao Xuejing brought back definite news. They took the risk of stopping the people who came out of the city and learned that there was indeed an epidemic in the city. Currently, the detoxification pill, used by the city's traditional Chinese medicine shop to treat all kinds of diseases has been sold from 10 yuan to a consistent amount. Previously, the government office was able to pacify the people. As the number of patients increased, the city became chaotic. Before long, everyone should have known. Zhao Xueli said, I guess we will set off today, and we will have to walk for a while after noon at the latest. I don't know where to stay overnight. If such a thing happens, there is no need to worry too much. It would be safer to stay further away. Mrs. Yang said, then go to the familiar families and let them know. Be prepared in advance and don't panic when the time comes. Zhao Xueli said, Brother Ding, I have already told third brother that there are still a few more families to go over in a while. Zhao Xueli was ready to give orders to his family, so he went out to help. There were several households in the village who supported each other all the way, so he couldn't just focus on himself at critical moments. In other words, in times of danger, everyone had to work together to get through the difficulties. Ah Nai, Dad. Upon hearing Zhao Yuanrang's voice, several people instinctively looked up and saw Luo Zhenyang walking back with her two children. Mrs. Yang's eyes were sharp, and she noticed that her granddaughter had an extra cloth bag in her hand. These two children didn't go to Mr. Song's place, how did they get this cloth bag? Without waiting for Mrs. Yang to ponder, the family reunited again. Zhao Luoyang looked around and saw no one else. He lifted the cloth bag in his hand and said, This was given by Mr. Song's family. Mr. Song also talked a lot to me and my younger brother. How difficult it is for Mr. Song to speak, Zhao Xueli has experienced it before, and who knows. Mr. Song is the most stingy, how can he still give his daughter something? Under everyone's gaze, Zhao Luoyang opened the cloth bag and took out what was inside. Zhao Luoyang first took out a round oil paper packet, opened it, and inside were 2 pancakes. Seeing this pancake, Mrs. Yang widened her eyes slightly. The pancake was as big as a palm, without any wild vegetables or bran. Although it was not as good as usual, it was an excellent food to eat at such times. Grandpa Song has to rinse the crumbs that fall on his beard with water before drinking. What a great favor. Make him willing to give up 2 cakes. The pancake was enough to shock Mrs. Yang for a while, but there was still something in the cloth bag in her granddaughter's hand. Under the gaze of everyone, Zhao Luoyang took out a palm-sized oil paper packet, which was opened and contained a few pieces of caramel. Now even Zhao Xueli couldn't help but ask, is it really given by Prince Song? Zhao Yuanrang's gaze seemed to be glued to the sweet candy. Upon hearing this, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva and said, It's true. The old family who served Mr. Song gave it to us. There was something else in the cloth bag, and when Zhao Luoyang took it out, he smelled the scent of herbs. It was a small bag of medicinal herbs. As Zhao Luoyang had anticipated before, it was indeed eating food and medicinal herbs. Mr. Song is still. Mrs. Yang wanted to say, Mr. Song is still alive now. Can such a stingy person watch so much being taken away unless they close their eyes? But you can't say that. Mrs. Yang changed her tone and said, is he okay? These two children probably knocked Grandpa Song unconscious and took these, right? Either Grandpa Song suddenly had a bad brain. Zhao Luoyang said, it's okay, Grandpa Song is still healthy. Speaking these words, Zhao Luoyang once again took out the 14 won coins under the gaze of everyone. Luo Zhenyang looked at the copper coins and couldn't help but ask, Luoya, what's going on here? My younger brother and I accompanied Mr. Song for a few words, Zhao Luoyang said, and even sold the eggs I brought from home to Mr. Song. Eggs? Mrs. Yang said, when did you bring it with you? When I left home, Zhao Luoyang said, I bought it from the villagers with my usual savings. I was afraid it would be useful on the way, so I put it in a package I carried with me. Zhao Yuan looked as if he had finally understood, and he said that Nai had to repeatedly count the eggs in her house several times a day. How could Jie hide the eggs under Nai's nose? It turned out that Jie had bought them. Mrs. Yang went to see Luo Zhenyang. Luo Zhenyang shook her head, unaware of the situation. Mrs. Yang suspected that her granddaughter had bought eggs from the Gao family, and that her illness was not good, so she didn't go far. The only one who could sell eggs to her granddaughter was the clever little daughter-in-law of the Gao family. Zhao Xueli thought about a few days ago, in order to seek a prescription, they searched everywhere for bird nests. The whole family was in a hurry. It turned out that there were eggs in their daughter's small bag. If only they had known to exchange those eggs for Mr. Song. How many eggs did you sell? Murmured Luo Zhenyang. Zhao Luoyang said, 5. Mrs. Yang was amazed in her heart. Miss Luo relied on 5 eggs to exchange so many things and silver coins. The adults of the Zhao family couldn't calm down for a moment. The most important thing is still ahead, Zhao Luoyang said. Mr. Song also told us some things. Zhao Luoyang's expression suddenly became serious. Zhao Xueli felt a thumping sensation in his heart, with a feeling of unease. After carefully looking around, Zhao Xueli asked, what did Mr. Song say? Zhao Luoyang lowered his voice and said, Lord Song has confirmed that there is an epidemic in the city, and he also reminds those around us not to trust us. If we want to leave here safely, we must be prepared. Grandpa Song will not say such things for no reason. Zhao Luoyang spoke with his own speculation this time. I think Mr. Song has noticed that there is something inside about the bandits and suspects that someone is colluding with them. People who collude with bandits are likely to be government officials. Zhao Xueli stared blankly at his daughter, who had visited the Song family more than the two brothers had learned, especially the words spoken by Prince Song, which were more important than the previous items and money. The news brought back by my daughter may seem unbelievable at first glance, but upon careful consideration, it is clear that Mr. Song did not need to falsely accuse the Yamen. The Yamen colluded with mountain bandits, and coupled with the epidemic. Isn't it that there are wolves in front and tigers behind? Thinking of this, Zhao Xueli's hair stood on end. The situation is urgent and they are about to start, but without a clear goal, they cannot stand idly by. Zhao Xueli was pondering, and Zhao Luoyang said, Dad, my daughter thinks that firstly, we must always be on guard, and secondly, Lord Song may have other ideas. Whenever we find any problems, we should immediately go and tell Lord Song. They are in the bright and others are in the dark, but as long as they take action, the people in the dark have to come out. Zhao Xueli nodded, unable to come up with a good solution at the moment, but also unable to waste time. Zhao Xueli said, I'll go find Brother Ding and the others. To guard against bandits, relying solely on his family is not enough. Although we cannot tell others what Prince Song said, it is always right to raise our vigilance first. Zhao Xueli rushed away, and Zhao Xuejing also followed, leaving Zhao Shui behind to help his family. Mrs. Yang was about to ask her granddaughter more carefully when she first said, "Ah Nai, Nyang, I have put the silver money and things given by the Song family into my bag. I will take them out when needed. These things cannot be given to anyone for now, at least until the wealth value is calculated, they must be in her hands." She hasn't looked carefully yet. Mrs. Yang had already opened her mouth, but her voice was hoarse in her throat as she watched her granddaughter sweep everything back into her cloth bag in a few or two strokes. Zhao Luoyang is eager to calculate her wealth value. No matter what she needs to do next, the system will be very helpful, provided that she has enough charm value and wealth value to exchange. It's a long chapter again. Thank you all for actively participating in the same cultural activities. Actually, when I opened the book, my mood was uneasy. It was my first time trying to write a systematic article, adding new elements, and writing it very cautiously. Seeing everyone's daily interaction messages, as well as various support and rewards, the leader, made me feel much more at ease. I will do my best to present a good story. Please also take good care of your new books and read them carefully, so that they can be recommended. I will continue to work hard. Thank you all. Also, for those who have monthly tickets in hand, please vote for the leader and let the new book also occupy a place on the list. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Teaches you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 teaches you. Mrs. Yang has many details that she wants to ask Zhao Luoyang, such as how she bought eggs from Gao's wife, how much did she pay for them, and whether she was deceived. The young daughter-in-law of the Gao family can actually sell her granddaughter's eggs under her nose. Smart, right? Isn't it impressive? She remembered that next time we meet, she needs to ask carefully. What does it mean to avoid her and go find her granddaughter? Do you think your granddaughter is easy to fool? But now I can't care about that anymore. Anyway, my granddaughter is smart and can't afford to lose money when she resells. Since we haven't suffered any losses, we will consider this matter later. She still has to pack her things. At least hide everything valuable. If you really encounter bandits, you have to think about how to escape. Mrs. Yang thought about rolling up her sleeves and looking like she was ready to do a big job. Luo Zhenyang drove Zhao Luoyang away to rest and took Zhao Yuan to help Mrs. Yang. The two sister-in-law had been watching the child without knowing the inside story, and she had to reveal what Luo Yang had said to them. Zhao Luoyang held the cloth bag he had taken back from the Song family and sat back on the mat under the tree. With no one around, she immediately asked Shijio to open up her wealth value. The wealth value has indeed fluctuated. Wealth value. 18.48 yuan. Zhao Luoyang was immediately taken aback. She knew that medicinal herbs might have a higher estimated value of wealth, but she didn't expect so much. The voice of Shijio came to mind. Medicinal herbs cost 7.96 yuan, 2 pancakes cost 3.96 yuan, 5 pieces of coarse malt sugar cost 1.64 yuan, plus the original 4.92 yuan, the total is 18.48 yuan. This time, medicinal herbs indeed accounted for the majority of the income. The system evaluation of these things also looks very fair. The 2 pancakes given by the Song family, although as big as a palm, are very thick and should have used some white flour. White flour is more expensive than rice, and the cheapest one is coarse malt sugar, which is sold at the market for 1 yuan. I really don't give much at all. She also has to thank the system for not depreciating, and the pawnshops in the city give even less silver. 18.48 yuan, you can exchange some things in the system now. Shi Jiudao said, do you want to exchange it? Zhao Luoyang said, don't exchange for now. There is danger ahead, keep the wealth value for now, maybe it will be of great use later. The items in the exchange area are Zhao Luoyang's reliance. Shijio silently looked at Zhao Luoyang's gains this time, especially the charm value that had increased by 3 points, all of which were obtained from talking to Prince Song. Zhao Luoyang's charm value is like his health value. If Zhao Luoyang can earn such charm value, should he also talk more to Zhao Luoyang? Thinking of this, Shi Jiu frowned reluctantly, but still spoke dryly, "What are you thinking?" Shi Jiu's voice suddenly came, and Zhao Luoyang was slightly surprised. She thought that Shi Jiu wouldn't take the initiative to mention these things to her. Zhao Luoyang said, "I'm thinking, how much does Prince Song really know? He just suspects the government officials, or does he already have a way to deal with it?" Shi Jiudao said, "Mr. Song should not be very confident at the moment that he can defeat the bandits and the officials." Zhao Luoyang was a little curious and said, "How did you guess?" Shi Jiudao said, "If you are confident, you should solve the Yamen guard before setting off, so as not to leave more troubles on your way. However, Grandpa Song advised you to be careful, rather than giving you a chance to escape." At least Grandpa Song felt that the bandits might not be able to succeed, indicating that he believed in finding the right time and still being able to take a fight. The people who are guarding your progress, besides the officials of the Yamen, also have the officials of the household. The officials of the household are different from those of the Yamen. Now it seems that the officials of the household should not have colluded with the officials, otherwise you will have no chance of escape. Zhao Luoyang said, "Since Zhang Jianli has already discovered it, why not?" Before Zhao Luoyang could finish speaking, she suddenly heard a light smile from Shi Jiu. She was certain that the smile was emotional. Is Zhao Luoyang being overly concerned? Shi Jiu is not a human, so naturally there should be no human emotions. Shi Jiu originally wanted to teach Zhao Luoyang for the sake of health, but he couldn't help but stir up his emotions. Even when Zhao Luoyang asked a question, he couldn't help but want to mock him. Innocent. For the sake of health, he can only restrain his temper. Shi Jiu's voice became indifferent again. "Do you want to say why you don't know the Yamen? The bandits here don't happen every day or two, and the people like Huang Yamen are not only colluding with the bandits now. How much does the local Yamen know? Even if the Yamen had not noticed it before and now knows it, do you think the county magistrate would believe the foreign Zhang Jianli or the yellow Yamen servant of their own Yamen?" Zhao Luoyang said, "Since you have doubts, wouldn't you be willing to investigate?" Shi Jiu looked at Zhao Luoyang and said, "Cha, what benefits does it bring to the county magistrate? Even if the county magistrate really doesn't know about this, he cannot avoid the crime of dereliction of duty. Without investigation, the initiative lies in the hands of the Yamen. The county magistrate can lead troops to suppress bandits, or he can pin the crime of colluding on Zhang Jianli. It can also be said that some of the relocated people are unwilling to go to Taozhou and have simply become bandits. In this way, the county magistrate can not only stay out of the situation, but also be promoted as a result. Of course, I'm not saying that there are no good officials in the world, but being able to raise such subordinates is probably not a wise person." Zhao Luoyang suddenly realized that Shi Jiu understood more than she had imagined, and he genuinely wanted to help her. Zhao Luoyang couldn't help but ask for advice. "What should we do about this matter? Host trust increases, health +2, host trust increases, health +2, host trust increases, health +2, health +2, health +2, a line of words flashed by, and the health increased 5 times before stopping, resulting in a total increase of 10 points. It was indeed a good method, but it also took up a lot of his patience. "We still need 941 points. Shi Jiu continued, "If you have enough force, you can take one step first and control the Yamen guards and mountain bandits. Although there are many of you, most of you are elderly, weak, women, and children, some of whom are middle-aged. In times of crisis, many people have to consider themselves, and if they fail a single attack, they will run for their lives recklessly. At that time, they can only be at the mercy of the mountain bandits. So it's not possible to force it." Shi Jiu continued, "Either we have enough official positions, borrow some hands from people we know and trust, and suppress the local county magistrate, so that they cannot use any means and can only send troops to suppress bandits and capture government officials. Zhao Luoyang said, if Zhang Dianli can do it, Lord Song doesn't need to be so careful and won't give me many things to help him gather information. Yes, although Grandpa Song did not say anything, Zhao Luoyang knew that the news was not given in vain, and she also had to repay it, otherwise there would be no second reminder. Martial arts are not good, neither are literary arts. Zhao Luoyang Jing and others wrote the following text of Shijiao. Shi Jiudao said, then we can only use some means to trap them. But it's not easy to trap people. You need to understand a set of rules first. You have no right or no soldiers in your hands, and in the end, you have to let the government come forward. Even if the government wants to manipulate the results, they can only act secretly. Once everything is exposed to people, they dare not openly accuse innocent people, let alone kill the people. So what you need to do is to use the government office, not rely on it. Zhao Luoyang felt that today's Shijiao was teaching her and gradually changing her cognition. Host trust increases, health +2, host trust increases, health +2, host trust increases, health +2. Shijiao looked at the numbers that appeared on him, and the joy of his health constantly rising suppressed his inner displeasure. It's not fast. He doesn't like patiently teaching someone like this, but fortunately Zhao Luoyang is not stupid and has given him a lot of rewards. Finally, the health increased by 10 points. Shijiao was thinking when Zhao Luoyang's voice came in. Shijiao, you just smiled. Do you think I'm stupid? Shijiao did not respond. Zhao Luoyang continued, actually, there's no need to cover up next time. You can speak up. I don't care, we can say anything openly between us. Shijiao was about to speak. Health value .1, Shijiao frowned, didn't she not care? Is what he said wrong? Thinking in his heart, Shijiao spoke up and said, it's not your fault. If your family is killed by bandits, and you know that the government officials are colluding with the bandits, and the officials in the government office may also be aware of this matter, you can only hastily close the case and cannot seek justice for your family. The next time you encounter something similar, you won't. Health value .1, health .1, health .1, Shijiao's words came to an abrupt end, and what did he say wrong? It's still the old rule, everyone should read and follow. Book Friend Circle and Zhang said they also want to post it. Thank you very much for your support. End of this chapter.